I will call to order the Town Council meeting, May 9th, 2016. Item 1 on the agenda, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Bear, anybody signed up?
No one has signed up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anybody for public comment? Hearing none, we'll close that and move to item 3. And this is a fun one. We have a proclamation tonight for Miss Sue Ford, our public librarian's Children's Services librarian, winner of the 2016 Faith Hectoan Award, given by the Children's Section of the Connecticut Library Association. Why don't you, Mary Jane, would you like to read the proclamation? It's a little bit long.
Sure.
Sue certainly earned it, so why not?
Right. Whereas the Faith Hectoan Award is given annually by the Children's Section of the Connecticut Library Association to recognize the efforts of an individual or group that has made an impact on library services to children in Connecticut at the local, regional, or state level. Developed in 1979, the award is named for Faith Hectoan, who served for over 20 years as the first state consultant for children's services. And whereas Sue A. Ford, New Milford Public Library's Children's Service Librarian, has made a lasting impact on 2 generations of New Milford children and is one of the reasons the children's program is thriving. Sue started at New Milford in a part-time position in the spring of 1980. She made a tour of all the departments before landing her first full-time job as the Tech Services Librarian. She became the children's librarian in 1987, and...
You know, I'm going to interrupt you. Maybe, since everybody's, there's a couple of paragraphs, if everybody could kind of read a paragraph and pass it around.
Sure.
Maybe
So,
spit.
right there. Share the wealth.
Whereas the library has been full of laughter and fun as Sue devised innovative programs to bring a love of reading to each child. Who else would think of having a shooting contest into a mini toilet to celebrate Captain Underpants? Who else has a pink party to reflect Pinkalicious? And
whereas Sue took part in the community conversation on early childhood for Bridgewater, New Milford, Roxbury, and Washington, Connecticut, in order to determine the literacy needs for pre-kindergartners. This led to the development of the New Milford Early Childhood Council, which consists of teachers, daycare providers, Head Start, herself, and parents. In the same vein, she serves on the Education Center Board at the New Milford United Church. And
whereas an avid knitter, Sue has an impact on adults too. She began a weekly knitting club called Knitwits. This is a support group for knitters of all ages who knit together, solve knitting problems, and socialize. Sue has reached outside New Milford as well by serving as an adjunct professor of children's literature at Northwestern Community College and teaching in adult literature as an adjunct at Southern Connecticut State University. In addition, she has served twice as interim director of New Milford Public Library while also performing all the duties of the children's librarian.
And Jessica, I don't want you to get robbed. If you want to read that last part, you can.
The part where it says I do.
I just say the Dave Grunbach, the mayor.
I'll give that one to you. I'm okay.
All right, well, now therefore, I, David R. Grunbach, do hereby express the gratitude of the town of New Milford in recognizing Sue A. Ford as the 2016 winner of the Faith Hectoan Award. And I'll entertain a motion to issue this proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Ford.
thank you.
Let's take a quick shot. Let's go.
Doing all that other stuff.
love what I do, and you're not done with me yet, so, you know. Maybe another 30 years.
All right. So item 4 on the agenda is approval of the prior minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 on the agenda is appointments and reappointments to boards and excuse me. 5, mayor's comments, thank you, I almost forgot, I do have a couple today. So I did want to congratulate Sue Ford and give a couple of updates on some things that are going on around town. I wanted to thank the VFW and the American Legion for the work that they have been doing to prepare and organize the Memorial Day Parade. They have done it for many years, and I do want to express my appreciation and that on behalf of the town also for everything that they have done. And I especially want to thank Walter Bowden. He's an individual that came to my office, and you made a great suggestion about putting a flag on Veterans Bridge. So we've been working with Public Works to get permission from the department or from the state. My idea is to put a big flag in between kind of the rafters in the middle of the bridge. It might take a little while, and we're not sure we could get it done before Memorial Day, but we're certainly working on it. So I want to thank Mr. Bowden for that suggestion, and it definitely is a good one.
Nice.
I'll give a brief update on the donation kind of clean out sale at JPS this past weekend. I want to thank Mark Mankin and the youth agency and the many volunteers that were involved in organizing that. It was a tremendous amount of work. Apparently about 50% of the leftover material in the school was taken by and disposed of to people that could, were interested in using it. They raised approximately $1,030 in donations, and that will go to support the grad party at the end of the year. So I really want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the youth agency and everybody that did come out and donate and support that. And on another note, just to give the council an update, personnel interviews for the director of personnel have been ongoing, and we got a lot of qualified candidates, and I expect to make a recommendation in the coming weeks and update you guys on how that's going. Aside from that, the referendum is scheduled for May 24th, and the town budget meeting is tomorrow. So that concludes my comments. We will move on to item number 6, which is appointments and reappointments to boards and commissions. Mary Jane?
Move the Bike and Trail Committee, temporary committee, and members are Tom O'Brien, Democrat, for the term 5/9/2016 to 11/30/2016. Lisa Arison, unaffiliated, 5/9/2016 to 11/30/2016. Mary Jane Lundgren, Democrat, 5/9/2016 to 11/30/2016. And James R. McKeon, Republican, 5/9/2016 to 11/30/2016.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very well, motion carries, thank you. Item B on the agenda is reappointments to the following, and that's Parks and Recreation.
Move the reappointment to Parks and Recs, William C. Camp, unaffiliated, for the term 12/1/2015 to 11/30/2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
And move the reappointment to the Library Board of Trustees, Rosemary L. Kelly, Republican, 11/1/2016 to 12/31/2020.
It looks like it was 1/1/2016.
1/1. Sorry.
That's okay.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you. The motion carries. So item 7 is regarding the Veterans Committee, and it's with regards to the Memorial Day Parade. I'll entertain a motion to close a number of the roads. Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Harribrook Park.
Do you want me to move?
Sure.
Move the closure of Grove Street from Franks Lane to Lover's Leap State Park for the 2016 inaugural Harry Brook Hog Wild Hustle, a
Can you say that again?
Hog Wild Hustle. Say it 3 times fast. A 5-mile trail run and obstacle course through Harry Brook Park and Lover's Leap State Park on July 9, 2016, beginning at 10 a.m. and ending at approximately 12 noon. The road will only be closed as needed, and there will be a police officer there to direct traffic.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Just a friendly amendment, that was a 5K.
5K.
Yes,
Big difference, 5 miles.
absolutely.
Sorry.
All in favor of the, I just want to say this, Harry Brook Hog Wild Hustle? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 on the agenda regards the Children's Center. This is a request for authorization. We've gotten amended contractual instruments with the state's Office of Early Childhood for Child Daycare Programming. And as you know, the money from the state kind of is run through the town, and then it's dispersed to the Children's Center. And this contract memorializes that and sets forth the terms. Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Youth Agency. It's always nice to accept a donation.
Okay.
Sure.
Move to accept a donation of $6,000 from the Ellen Knowles Harcourt Foundation Incorporated and a $500 donation from the Friends of Sullivan Farm. Funds will be utilized for installing a new garden fence to thwart
I think
deer.
that's deer.
Deer maintenance on the water system, restaining the barn, and repairing equipment used in vegetable production at the farm. These funds should be placed in revenue account 104419000-44118, which will also necessitate expanding expense account 104419000-58923 in the amount of $6,500.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you to the foundation. We'll be sure to send out a thank you letter to them as well. Item 11 on the agenda is HRRA, the Housatonic Resources Recovery Agency, and the entering into a contract with New Tech, which was awarded by HRRA, of which New Milford is a part. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to authorize Mayor David R. Gronbach to sign and enter into a contract with New Tech International in conjunction with HRRA to provide certain e-waste recycling services set forth in the e-waste collection and recycling agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Item 12 on the agenda, Candlewood Lake Authority. And this is an agreement that we previously entered into. It's a vegetated buffer acceleration agreement. And apparently what this does is move up the time frame to install these vegetated buffers from 5 years to 3 years. So, any further discussion? I think everybody kind of understands that this is one step in maintaining the health of our lake and addressing some of the runoff and stormwater issues that really have a detrimental effect on the quality of the lake. So this is a good program for us to definitely accelerate rather than put off. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, I believe, is...
So we need a motion to go into executive section,
yes.
and
Second.
who, including John Tower. Anybody else?
Kathy Conway.
Kathy
Kathy
Conway.
Conway.
Okay, very good. So there's a motion on the floor to executive session section. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll be out shortly. We're back in open session, and entertain a motion.
I make a motion to authorize a resolution that was discussed in executive session in regard to Finnegan versus Town of New Milford.
Okay. Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Tower and Ms. Conway, for your work on this matter. Moving on to item 14, the Board of Education. This is a discussion and possible action on request to have the Board of Education year-end balance of $237,262 deposited into the Board of Ed's capital reserve account. Entertain a motion? Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? You guys are very familiar with the account. It's what the Board of Ed uses to fund their kind of capital projects, and this is actually last year's surplus. So we're not sure what this year's surplus will be, but that'll be a discussion as well. So any further discussion on the Board of Ed issue? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Josh, did you want to speak at all? I'm sorry, I know you were here.
Just here in case you had any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nobody had any questions for Josh, did they? I should have asked. Okay. Now these guys they're pros. Item 15, the turf fields. I see Mr. Filer in the office, in the audience.
Good evening, Joseph Fowler, 17 Cobble Lane, New Milford. And with me is our representative from BSC Group, Eric Russell. We are getting to the end of the project. We're anticipating the turf being delivered sometime this week. We think it'll be literally on location this week, and then it's approximately 3 weeks per field to install it. So as they start installing the main field, then...
Excuse me one second, Mr. Filer. I don't mean to interrupt you. Robin, did we have those handouts for everybody? All right. I'm just going to have her pass this out so it makes your explanation a little bit easier when we get to the change order requests. Yeah.
Which is good, because I just realized I need reading glasses. All right, I need because it's getting hard to see what I have.
I'm sorry, please continue.
So that's how close we are. We're anticipating the end of June at this phase. If you've been by the schools, you'll see how much project the work has been done. The north field, or the main field, I'm sorry, is all set. It's all level, all the gravel's in. It's just literally waiting for the artificial turf to be installed on it. And the north field, that is one of the things that we had a change order for, because we need to level out some additional soil, and that is only days away, if they haven't been working on it in the last couple of days, from where that belongs. I don't know if you've seen all the light poles are in for the fields, and all the fence poles are up. Not all the fences are up yet, because they're still working in that area. The track, when they started to take a good look at the pavement of it, it was much deeper in pavement than we thought. It runs anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. So to remove all that pavement would have cost too much money. So what they did is they went ahead and milled it down additionally. And they're going to put new paving on top of it, and then the rubber track will go on top of that. The track will be one of the last things installed. One, they have to have access to fields, and two, there's a set of circumstances that have to exist for that surface to be poured. It has to be dry, no precipitation for X amount of days. It has to be X temperature outside for so many days in a row. That's the only thing that could be delayed. It's completely dependent on perfect weather conditions for that portion of it. So there was an additional cost for some of that milling that we just didn't realize it was that thick, because we couldn't bore through the original, while the original track was still on it. The other change orders come up is, because we have the new LED system, those lights are very focused directly onto the tracks. And the one thing that was put to the side for the time being was the pedestrian walkway. As we know, the pedestrian walkway between the two fields, it was lit completely by wash of light from the main fields. Well, there's no more wash of lights, because the light is so directed now with the new LED system that the walkway would be pretty dark. And it's a safety issue across the board. So we received pricing, a variety of pricing on lighting for that, and found that the most efficient and least expensive would be these new 16-foot poles that will be installed along that area. And that will come to approximately $28,000. Now, that is still pending zoning. So because we're installing these poles, it's still pending zoning. And the reason that this was held off on was the former administration had asked us not to put that into the budget at that time. And then as we started to progress, we realized that this item is just not there. It needs to be done. It's solely because of the safety issue. On the water line, there's been a lot of conversation. As you know, this committee is comprised of a lot of individuals from the construction industry, plus we have our representatives from BSC Group, and this was looked at and discussed with the aquarium. The cost of moving that line, it can be done at any time after the project is done, actually, because it would only be sealing what's there and moved out, but the expected cost would be almost $100,000. And we did not believe it was worth doing that to move that line. Then there was discussion about moving the one valve that comes up to the edge of the track near the visitors' bleachers. And that's one of the valves that runs to the high school. Now that valve is always left in an open position. It's never closed. And that's not the valve that leaked. It's a valve further down off the field where the leak was that they repaired. So Aquarium was of the opinion that you are better off leaving that one valve alone in the open position. If they come in and tap into the water main and replace the segment there to put a valve further out toward the driveway, they said now you're risking a failure at two possible places off the main line. It's not worth the risk. If that valve was ever, if that location was ever to leak, it can be shut down pretty quickly on either end of the field. So the overall, from Aquarian and all the opinions, was to just leave well enough alone. They don't anticipate any problems whatsoever. The other point that has come up, when we were working on this project and the school's been very involved with us, they came to us because H.I. Stone, our contractor, is on site and wanted to know if H.I. Stone would be interested in bringing the sidewalks going to the remaining athletic fields, the baseball fields and so on, up to ADA compliance. They've been put on notice that they have to be brought up to ADA compliance. It was some creative thinking to say, we have these contractors on site now. What would it cost for them to do the project? Because two things. We had an estimate from BSC Group as to their consulting. Should that project, those sidewalks, go out to bid, their estimate was approximately $27,000 worth of work. They informed us they can reduce that bill by $10,000 if we do it in this project. And H.I. Stone gave us a better price on getting those sidewalks completed because they're there. Their equipment's there, they're there. They would be more than glad to do the project while they're there. So we met with the mayor, Mr. Bass, myself, and Mr. Wargo, and we were all of the opinion that they're there. If we can put it into our project as a change order, it would be done right now, and it would save a tremendous amount of money across the board for the town and the Board of Education. My understanding is the Board of Education, I know some of those folks are here, has a line item in their current budget for these sidewalks. So they're willing to reimburse the town, and we leave the financial end of it to those who know that best. But we all thought it was the best idea to encompass it in here, save a lot of money on the project across the board. I believe that covers everything that we have going at this time. There are, it's three more change orders. The school, it's ADA sidewalks, the additional fill for the north field, the track milling for the little additional depth, and the lights down the sidewalk. brings the total cost right now to $3,679,588.56.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fowler, I had in my summary the $5,000 for the valve at the water line. Was that not approved, or should that not be on there? When we were looking at the breakdown that you provided, we included that as well.
That's not necessary.
Okay.
That's not necessary.
Alright, so that's off.
Aquarians,
Okay. And the drainage structure at home bleacher, $800. Is that something that needed to be?
That's an anticipated price. We don't actually have pricing from the contractor on that yet.
Okay. All right.
we will say, H.I. Stone has been a good partner in this project, and some things they have actually picked up the cost for themselves. And those would be the disc circle for the discus, which is now off that area of the field. They've had to address some elevation issues with the goalpost and a netting for the discus throw. They've put that in as a courtesy on the project. So that's where we are at this point. If we all goes well, we'll be end of June. We will be looking at. It's an amazing place. And I'll say this one other point. My daughter's a freshman at New Milford. She does not play outdoor sports, as many of you know. She's a figure skater, so with her nice arena here in town. But she tells me, and all students tell us, and the athletic directors, the students are getting excited. If you go by, I mean, those new light poles are like, they're big. And so they see that, they see the fencing, they see that everything is getting graded nicely. So everybody's pretty, everybody but the seniors are excited. They'll be graduating before we finish up.
Good.
So Joe, what's the total for the change orders now? What's the total? Without the valve, the water valve, and without the,
The total change orders are the list one. I think it's 6.
105, 89.99.
You take out the 5,000.
And the 800, I think.
Yeah, without the 5,000, without the 800, we're at $3,679,588.56.
so, but what's the total of the change order? So it's 105?
105,089.99.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was about to add that up.
Yeah. Ms. Francis, I had a question.
I just have a question, Joe. Back to the valve. And I understand they said they leave the valve as is, and moving, in other words, tapping it off and moving it away from the field is $100,000 or so. I just have one question, that leave it as it is, but what if there were to be a problem near the valve that's closest to the field? How do they shut that water off?
There is going to, it will be, that valve will be directly above lane 8 of the track by the visitors' bleachers. There is going to be, lack of a better word, a cap.
There'll be, okay, so there will be, because obviously the one that's in the open position all this time, you're not gonna mess around with that. But if it were to have a leak, then you do have an above ground way to immediately stop it.
The worst case scenario,
Yeah.
and which is what I want to make sure everybody understands. The worst case scenario, should that valve malfunction to some incredible degree, it would require cutting a piece of that track out at that location, because accessing it from an angle would not allow compaction back down on there.
Okay, but this is what came up once before, and we're back to that again, that what if it happens in the middle of the night on a Saturday night and no one is there, that this isn't a alarmed area, it could just pour water out underneath the track, right?
Something like that is not impossible. It is
Well,
a
I
scenario.
realize it's a, worst case, but how would they approach doing something about that? Because that could cause a huge problem.
So, just so you understand, and based on what you were saying, Ms. Francis. I don't sit at the table anymore, I can't see. The valve, if you have the main pipe is what goes partially under the fields.
Right.
The valve that the discussion about is a line that comes off of there. It's not the main pipe itself. It's an extension that runs over to the high school. Aquarian has told us if we want to take that valve, which is right now close to the actual big pipe, and shift it out to say like the driveway, the access road. They believe we're asking for more trouble because we're putting where they're cut and splice would give us 2 locations where we've ever
No, I
potentially.
understood that.
The other alternative is to take the bend out of the main pipe, which would be it can only run 1 or 2 places, under the current sidewalk or under the current driveway, roadway, either one of them. And it runs on the very north end of the field, approximately 6 to 7 feet on the ground. As it traverses the back of the school property and comes close to the observatory, it's now running 8 to 9 feet on the ground. So the pipe it's very deep on the ground. It is a major project to straighten that pipe out and take that completely out of the equation. That's where we were given estimates in the neighborhood of $100,000.
But at some point, I mean, all pipes fail. I mean, at some point. At some time.
At some time, yes.
But I guess I just was curious if anybody had thought of a contingency for that. You did, you said there'll be a shut off above the ground.
There's a shut off, that valve's always gonna stay open. It's never gonna get closed. If they wanna shut down the water, let's say if going to the school, they'll shut it down on the street.
Right, so they're not gonna touch that.
And they're not gonna touch it. Aquarian has never touched that valve, they don't, and based on, you know what? Ms. Francis, it's a risk-benefit analysis.
No, I got you. I just was curious.
And it's
Yeah,
been
so much.
discussed at length. I mean, do we have 100,000 left in what we have? Yes. Do we think it's a wise investment to move that line for 100,000? No. I don't think, it's our opinion that it's not worth that.
It was the biggest discussion of all, I think, that we had, it really never got, resolved, so I just don't know.
Suspect of why the one valve pop is we're running some very big machinery, heavy equipment over that end where that valve went. Plus, they when they were digging on the north end, they hit, lack of better word, small water lines.
Yes, I
That
remember.
nobody knew
Irrigation,
existed. Right, it wasn't even in the system.
Okay,
Now,
cool.
the upside is that it's in the contract with H.I. Stone that every single piece of conduit line and anything that runs under either one of those fields or across the whole back of that school will now be on a blueprint that will be turned over to the town. You will know where everything is back there.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Bear.
the work you've done.
I think I know where Ms. Francis was going. The question is, if that valve fails, can you shut it down quickly?
Yes,
Without losing 100,000 gallons of water within
And the track.
15 minutes and the track. Can you shut down that valve quickly?
Is the minute someone knows there's water coming out, there are valves on the north side and the south side that can shut
Okay.
that down.
I think that's the question though.
Right.
The next issue.
Can you shut that down quickly? Okay.
Yes. Now, if it, starts at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday and nobody goes by to school, man, you're gonna have some water there.
Is there no chance to have an alarm on it?
Understand
An alarm of some sort that tells you that it's leaking, or don't they have some sort of?
That's what I wondered.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Some
Yeah.
type of-
Pressure drops,
Yeah, like,
I imagine Aquarian would kind of notice if there was some kind of monitoring on it, that.
It's outside, it's before the meter for the school, so
But there
they probably
must
wouldn't
be-
be caught right away.
It's on some meter somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
Some meter somewhere, I'm not sure how accurate.
or whether they monitor that
Yeah.
regularly.
Mr. Chamberlain.
We have alarms at the school system and water pressure drops that go up.
There you
I was
go.
just informed by the board of ed,
Thank
that
you,
the water
Ms.
pressure
Hollenbeck.
drops going into the main building. based on their alarm system, it will send off some type of signal.
I feel better
So I
already.
would imagine if that water is pouring out on the ground instead of going into the school, and there's not a
Oh, yeah.
positive pressure. But we will ask the question.
Yeah, that's a good, reasonable question.
I would just share the concerns of the councilwoman and the councilman regarding the issues regarding the water main. I'm not sure that I would have reached the same conclusion as to the cost-benefit analysis that the turf committee did. When I look at a project that is just south of $4 million, $100,000 spent to maintain the integrity of that $4 million project does not seem an outrageous amount, particularly since there is some law in nature that says if a water main is going to break, it will be on a holiday at night when nobody is around and nobody is monitoring anything and you can't reach the people at the water company. So I would just like to indicate my questioning of the judgment of omitting this. I think in the big scheme of this project, it is a relatively modest expenditure. Granted that it wasn't factored in time-wise or cost-wise, but I think the cost factor is relatively, to the extent one can call 100,000 insignificant, but on a $4 million project, when the work of the $4 million project is imperiled by trying to save $100,000, under other circumstances, I don't think we would do it. And to some degree, I think I would wonder how much of this is intended to save $100,000 and how much of it is intended to make a deadline so that we can have the field open and running and played on a certain given date. And I question whether the wisdom of taking those measures to meet a deadline or a budget is worth the trade-off.
Can I respond, Mr. Chamberlain?
Of course.
And it may clarify a few things on that issue. No question that this committee discussed this back and forth, and we did bring it to the mayor. And we consulted with Aquarium, obviously, who controls and owns all of that. The water line can be moved at any time and have no bearing whatsoever on this project. It's not, it has no effect. It's not a factor on our deadline of June, the end of June, or whatever, either the 30th or 31st, last day of June. And the reason being, should that line, it be decided the line were to be straightened out, literally it comes into the field there to dig in, we've all seen. They would just straighten it and pick it up at the very north entrance of the school and run in a straight line approximately 600 feet down to about where the observatory is. If they were to do that, they would close the main for a short period of time. They would literally install the pipe, a new straight pipe, and then where the connectors would be at the north end and south end, they would shut their water main down, and in one day, connect the north, connect the south, turn it back on. And they would then abandon the line that runs through that area, and then by abandoning it, they would pour concrete down the length of the pipe and turn it into a solid structure. So the entire project can be done with never addressing the surface above the line, unless there was obviously a break. But what we've seen, the water leak here was not on the water main itself. That's a massive, that's a very long, no, that's a line that runs the length of the Route 7 all the way down to Brookfield. It's a major water line. Listen, there's a possibility that it could break in the middle of the night. The issue there is if it were to leak, would be at one of the valves, and wherever one of those valves are along that line, you're going to see water bubble up in that location. It wouldn't take out 2 fields. That's probably 1,000 feet of distance across the back of those areas. It's not going to take out everything in that area. It could do damage to a portion, yes.
I appreciate the clarification on the timeline issue. I would still question the wisdom of saving $100,000, because I certainly know that if the time came to come back and fix it, we would still have the $100,000, and I'm sure there would be at least another $100,000 bill on top of that for repair of existing facilities.
If we damage, meaning the town of Milford damaged that line somewhere in a process, we'd be responsible. If that line breaks, it's on Aquarium, and they're responsible for doing the repair work. They wouldn't, there's been questions, would they be responsible for the surface above it with a new field on there? For what I do for a living, I could argue on their behalf easily and say, no, they're not responsible for fancy stuff on top of their line. They would have to repair a road or a sidewalk or someone's front lawn if it popped, well, up to the point that you own the line. But would they be responsible for a beautiful track or turf? Probably not. I could easily see any attorney making that argument.
So certainly the possibility exists that we would have $100,000 to then move the water line, whatever it costs to fix the field, and 5 years of litigation.
There's in scenarios we can work in across the board, but it's not been our position. However, we're working hard. We're at the tail end of this. We don't anticipate seeing much more in the way of changes because everything that pretty much needs to be done, or we've come across is done. We're in the home stretch here, so we're not anticipating a lot. So given the fact that we're just earning the $3.7 million. You're looking at $300,000 worth of what we were allocated over $4 million. And it can be done at any time after this project is done. But I leave that to other individuals.
Yes.
You said the track is weather contingent. Can the students play on the field area without the track being completed, considering most fall sports start in the summer, or do pre-summer workouts?
The H.I. Stone technically is responsible for that area inside the fenced construction zone. I would doubt that they would turn the project over to us if they have not completed that track. We would run into some very technical issues because you would have to cross over that area to get onto the main field. You wouldn't have to do that with the practice field, but for the moment, everything within the construction fence is completely controlled by H.I. Stone. I doubt they would turn it over to us unless they've completed a project.
Do you know if there's been any conversation with the athletic department of what coaches would do? I mean, I know we're using different fields at this point, but what coaches would do to be able to start their summer workouts on other separate fields?
Something pretty drastic would have to happen for them not to get this in by the 31st.
We have also, the athletic director has been he's been at almost every one of our subcommittee meetings. He's been kept.
Just the athletic program at the high school, the students cannot begin practice until roughly the 7th of August. So anyways.
So
it's definitely, there's no.
Unless
Get 'em
it's
on
a Noah's Ark type of event over the next couple of months.
In that case,
H.I. Stone goes into a penalty phase if the project's not finished on time. H.I. Stone's going to do everything possible to get it done on time and properly. Otherwise, they enter into the penalty clause and it gets very expensive per day that they're not finished.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Bear.
I don't mean to chuckle, but I love the comment about Noah's Ark because I was just thinking, the ancient Romans used to flood the Colosseum so they could have sea battles. So well, if the field is flooded, okay, we'll have to develop some new sports.
We'll get the skulls out there.
Yeah.
Going through.
Okay,
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it, it's done.
We're all looking forward to it. Visually, you're starting to notice the end result.
Absolutely. So I'll entertain a motion. You want me to break this out into, separate, does it make sense to break it out into the separate amounts? Sure, so the ADA sidewalk work for $43,496.76 that the Board of Ed is expected to pay for. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The LED 16-foot height pedestrian light poles at $28,252.83. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The additional track pavement depth at $16,857.20. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And the common fill at Northfield for $16,483.20. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the change orders signed by BSC Group in my hand. Would you like me to give them to you?
Sure, you can give them to Robin. I'll take a look at them tomorrow.
Thank you very much,
The
everyone.
backup information is not attached to the change orders, if you need that. The final version, I'll attach everything before I get your originals back.
Sure.
So take a look, and if you're uncomfortable signing them just the way they are now, let us know and we'll get you the backup.
We'll take a look at it. Thank you very much. Excellent. Thanks so much. And before we adjourn, I did forget to say one thing. If nobody minds me going back to Mayor's comments just for a second, I did want to note the passing of George Jake Sullivan. He was born August 6, 1920. He passed May 4th, 2016. He was born and raised in New Milford. He was a dairy farmer on Great Brook Farm on Park Lane Road, now called Sullivan Farm, which the town purchased in 1997. And Jake served as the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town from 1970 to 1976. He was a lifelong farmer. He served in numerous positions with agricultural boards, including chairman of the Litchfield County Dairy Committee, chairman of the Litchfield County Agricultural Stabilization and Conservation Service, secretary and treasurer of the Litchfield County Dairy Herd Improvement Association, and treasurer of the Litchfield County Artificial Breeders Association. I want to extend my condolences, but also congratulations to a man who lived a life worth living and contributed to his community, and certainly passed on an amazing tradition in Sullivan Farm that we continue to honor and continue today. So on behalf of the town and the board, I'd just like to say that to his family and in his memory. So,
Very nice.
very good. So now I guess we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.